Hello and welcome back to the Rashtra. Today we are talking about a major labor rights reform, the end of the sponsorship system known as the Kafala in Saudi Arabia. For decades, this system tied millions of migrant workers to their employers in ways many human rights groups called exploitative. But in 2025, Saudi Arabia announced it has abolished the framework, a major historic move. As one recent article says, Saudi Arabia has officially abolished its decades-old kafala system, ending a controversial sponsorship framework. First, let's understand what the kafala system was. The kafala, a sponsorship system, defines the relationship between the foreign workers and their local sponsor or kafil, usually which is the employer. Under the regime, the legal work permit and as well as the residency status of a migrant worker was tied to the employer, who has control over job moves, exits, and even whether the worker could change the employer. Because of that control, many abuses arose. Passport confiscation, blocked job change, forced to do overtime, restricted travel. Critics even called it the modern day slavery. For example, one source quotes that under kafala, workers typically cannot leave or change jobs or leave the country without the employer's approval, and that workers would risk being arrested and deported under absconding charges. Now, why and when did Saudi Arabia decide to end it? Over recent years, Saudi Arabia signaled some major reforms. In March 2021, reforms let migrant workers change jobs without employers' permission and dropped some exit permit requirements as well with that. But many said those reforms didn't go that much far enough. Domestic workers and other vulnerable workers remained excluded. The landmark announcement came in the year 2025, in the month of June, and by October, the abolition was widely reported. Saudi Arabia abolishes its 50-year-old kafala system. The removal is set to liberate millions of foreign workers. Close to 13 million migrant workers in Saudi Arabia are expected to be affected, many from India, Bangladesh, Nepal, Philippines, among other countries as well. What does the new system entail? Now you see that the migrant workers will now have the freedom to change jobs without needing employer permission, exit and re-enter the country without a sponsor's exit visa in many cases, and sign enforceable contracts, shifting from sponsor-based power to a contractual employment model. In short, the end of the kafala system in Saudi Arabia marks a major turning point in migrant labor rights in the Gulf region. But it is also a moment to watch. Legal change is important, yet real improvement will depend on implementation, on reinforcement, and making sure the most vulnerable workers are protected and cared. As one human rights group warned, reforms must fully tackle the core features of the abusive kafala system that leave workers wholly dependent on their employers. Thank you for joining in with the Rashtra. Stay tuned for more updates on labor reform, migration, and as well as worker rights. Stay tuned.